we've been giving aid, or the Western world as a whole has been giving aid ever since the end of the Second World War. And so we've accumulated a vast amount of experience about what aid works and what aid doesn't work, and when it works and why it works and what we're doing right and what we need to do. And the purpose of this course is really to introduce people who are working on aid or who are interested in aid, to introduce them to the theory and practice of aid. Well, Australia gives about $5 billion of foreign aid every year. And even though the coalition has said they're not going to increase that anymore beyond the rate of inflation, it's still more than double what we used to give about 10 years ago. So it's a substantial investment the government's making. And that big aid program involves many public servants, both in the Department of Foreign Affairs, but also throughout government. You'll find most departments now have some sort of involvement with the aid program. And what I find is that most people who are working on aid aren't really aware of the theory of aid or the practice of aid. They're either sector specialists, so they might be specialists in health or education or finance, or they've come into the aid program and they're generalists. And I find this course useful, interesting, because first of all it compresses a lot of information into a single day, and so you can sort of really focus on the fundamentals. And second, I find the people doing the course, they are mainly people who are working on aid. They've got a lot of information and experience and perspectives that's really useful for me to get. And normally what we do, because I've run this course a few times, is it goes for a whole day, but in the afternoon we have some sort of case session where after talking with the students about the theory and practice, we actually discuss a problem. And students need to come up with a solution to this particular aid problem. And that's something very interactive that I don't normally do in my regular course, and I find it's very interesting to see what sort of responses students or participants come up with. Now, I've been involved myself in the aid business one way or another. I started off working for a non-government organisation, Oxfam. Then after some more study, I worked for more than a decade with the World Bank. And then I came back and worked for what was then AusAid as a chief economist. And since joining the Crawford School, I've been lecturing every year since 2009, a course on aid policy. I try to cover the main aid debates. Right? Aid is not an area where everyone agrees on everything. In fact, it's the opposite. There are some really fundamental debates, and it's very important people working in aid are aware of that. Otherwise, they'll think that their approach is necessarily the best approach and everyone agrees. They don't. So I hope the course gives students some basic awareness of key aid debates. I think there are really two types of people. One, if you're in Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, which now has responsibility for the aid program, and perhaps you're new, or perhaps you've been working there for a while, but you've never really had the chance to look back at those lessons of theory and experience. I think it'll be useful for you. Yeah, and then second, people in other departments. I've had people from Federal Police, Treasury, Electoral Commission. These are sector specialists. They normally work in the Australian context, but perhaps they've been asked to go and help use their skill in another country.